happened to Summer?
No.
Do you know who took Summer?
No.
Home when you first come
No,
home.
I'm not doing all that. I'm not going all the way back. I can't do this.
So listen,
You know what I mean?
they're trying to
No.
help. They're trying to help.
It's not helping me.
I know, but they might.
There's nothing more to remember. I gotta go home.
10 minutes ago, the internet exploded with one shocking claim. Summer Wells' mother has finally confessed. But what did she really say, and why are thousands of people convinced her words reveal the truth? Candus Bly, Summer's mother, has spoken in several interviews since the little girl vanished in June 2021. Each time, her words have been picked apart by millions of viewers. Every pause, every tear, every slip of the tongue dissected frame by frame. In her most talked-about interview, Candus described walking her daughter into the house, sending her to the basement, and then returning just 2 minutes later to find her gone. But here's the twist. Online investigators claim that during this interview, Candus let something slip. They point to a sudden change in her tone, a moment where she hesitates before repeating, "I went down and she was just gone." To some, it sounds like an innocent stumble. To others, it's the closest thing to a confession. The internet has erupted with theories. Was Candus simply overwhelmed, repeating herself under pressure? Or was that hesitation a sign that she knows more than she's admitting? Law enforcement has never said she confessed. In fact, the TBI continues to call the case open and active, but public opinion is ruthless. Clips are being replayed with captions like, "Candus slips up and mother admits the truth." Whether fair or not, that perception is spreading faster than fact. So the real question isn't just what Candus said. It's why thousands believe they finally caught her revealing what really happened to Summer. In interview after interview, Candus Bly has repeated the same phrase. "I didn't do anything to my daughter." But here's the problem. Body language experts, true crime followers, and even television hosts have zeroed in on how she says it. The tone, the expressions, the way she storms out of interviews in frustration. And now, many are asking the question no one wants to believe. Is this a hidden confession? From the very first days after Summer Wells vanished, Candus has maintained her innocence. She insists she was with her mother planting flowers, walked Summer back into the house, and within minutes her little girl was gone. But each time she speaks, the internet freezes a frame, her eyes darting, her voice cracking, her sudden anger. On Dr. Phil, she left the stage in tears, and Axum saw as a reaction of a grieving mother, but others interpreted it as guilt boiling over. On local news, her words were simple but heavy. "I didn't do anything to my daughter." Yet critics say it's not just what she said, but how she said it. The weight of denial repeated again and again, almost as if she's trying to convince herself. And this is where the online firestorm begins. Thousands now believe that these subtle moments are not accidents, but signals that maybe, just maybe, the truth slipped out not in words, but in the emotions she couldn't control. On that June day in 2021, Candus says Summer walked inside the house, down the basement to play with her toys, and then vanished. Just minutes later, she says she called her name, searched the yard, and checked every room. But Summer was gone. No footprints leading away, no sound of a car door, no sign of struggle. Nothing. A child swallowed into thin air. Candus has told the story again and again, to reporters, to investigators, even to television cameras. Her version never really changes. She insists she was outside with her mother planting flowers, that she walked Summer inside, and that in just a matter of minutes, her life was ripped apart. And for years, she has denied any involvement. In local interviews, she's blunt, even defensive, saying, "I had nothing to do with this." On Dr. Phil, her voice cracked as she repeated, "I didn't do anything to my daughter," is a line that is echoed across the internet, repeated in news clips, documentaries, and endless YouTube analysis videos. But here's where the fracture begins. Because while Candus says she's telling the truth, the public sees something entirely different. Every time she speaks, her words are replayed, dissected, slowed down. Online sleuths freeze the frame to capture her eyes shifting away. They loop the moment she bites her lip. They debate why she leans forward, why her tone changes, why she clutches her arms when she denies guilt. Body language experts, true crime podcasters, and even daytime television hosts have all weighed in. Some say her frustration is a natural reaction for a grieving mother under suspicion. Others point to those very reactions as signs of deception. And when Candus abruptly walked off the Dr. Phil set in tears, the internet erupted. To some, it was proof of heartbreak. To others, it was proof she couldn't hold her story together under pressure. That's the battle line drawn in this case. On one side, a mother who insists she's innocent, who says she lost her daughter in the blink of an eye. On the other side, a public that sees her denials not as reassurance, but as red flags. And this is the part that chills people the most. Law enforcement has never called Candus a suspect. They've never announced charges against her. They continue to say the case is open and active, with no official confession and no arrests. Yet thousands online believe a confession has already happened, hidden not in words, but in tone, in body language, in the moments when Candus's voice breaks, or when she repeats herself as if trying to believe it. The question is unavoidable. Are people hearing the truth of a desperate mother clinging to her innocence? Or are they hearing a hidden admission, a confession buried between the lines of what she won't say? During a televised interview, when the questions became too sharp, too direct, Candus Bly broke. Her voice cracked, her eyes welled up, and then she walked away from the camera. That moment has been replayed thousands of times online. Some see grief, others see guilt, but everyone agrees it was unforgettable. On Dr. Phil, the tension only escalated. Candus sat across from professionals trained to read the tiniest flicker of emotion, the slightest shift of posture. Body language experts pointed to hesitation in her voice, avoidance in her gaze, and the way her hands folded tightly into her lap as the questions grew more intense. They noted how she struggled to hold eye contact, how she seemed to brace herself before speaking, and how her words often came with a long, uneasy pause. To the experts, those weren't random mannerisms. They were signals, signs of stress, signs of someone under crushing internal pressure. And to the online world, they became something more. Clips of her wiping her face, leaning forward, crossing her arms. They've been cut, slowed down, replayed, and dissected frame by frame. Commentators point out how she repeats herself. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything to my daughter. Words meant to clear her name, but to many they sound like rehearsed lines, spoken not from the heart, but from the fear of being exposed. And this is where the wildfire really spread. Because thousands of people online no longer hear denials when Candus speaks. They hear confessions in disguise. A confession not delivered in words, but in tone. In the trembling of her voice, the stiffness of her posture, and a storm of emotion she cannot seem to control on camera. It's a chilling idea that the truth might not be in what she says, but in what her body reveals. That the loudest confession in this case may not come from a statement to police, but from the silent language of a mother who insists she's innocent, while the world remains unconvinced. And that's the dangerous thing about cases like Summerwell's. When official answers don't come, the silence gets filled by something else, speculation. The public creates its own conclusions, its own version of the truth, built not on evidence but on perception. For some, Candus's repeated insistence that she's innocent only sharpens their suspicion. I didn't do anything to my daughter, she says. But to critics, the very repetition of those words makes her look more guilty, as if she's defending herself against a question that law enforcement hasn't even asked publicly. For others, though, she's seen as something entirely different. A grieving mother who lost a little girl in the blink of an eye, now caught in a storm she can't escape. Every time she speaks, she's accused of lying. Every time she stays quiet, she's accused of hiding. No matter what she does, the world is convinced it can read between the lines of her pain. And that's the tragedy within the tragedy. Because while investigators still search for answers, the internet has already put her on trial. Not in a courtroom, but in comment sections, live streams, and endless breakdown videos. So the question becomes this. Is Candus Bly a mother unfairly condemned by public opinion? Or is her body language telling the story she refuses to put into words? Until Summerwell's is found, the world may never know. So, is this really a confession, or just a mother breaking down under the weight of the world? What do you hear in her words? The truth or the silence of someone still hiding what really happened to Summer Wells. For every viewer who sees raw grief in Candus's trembling voice, there's another who swears they see deception in her eyes. For every person who believes she's been unfairly judged, there's another convinced that her body language is screaming louder than her words ever could. This is where the case lives today, not in answers, but in questions, not in confessions, but in interpretations. And with each passing day, the silence from investigators only deepens the divide, leaving the public to wonder if they've already witnessed a confession and simply don't realize it yet. Because in the absence of truth, every pause, every tear, every repeated denial becomes a clue. And whether those clues point to guilt or to a mother lost in grief depends entirely on who's watching. One thing is certain. Until Summer is found, every word Candus speaks, and every word she doesn't, will be treated like evidence